Hello, everyone. This is Julie Santiago here, and I am so excited and so honored to be here with the lovely, beautiful, amazing Stasha, who graduated from our program recently, and she's just here to talk about her incredible journey from where she was just 4 months ago to where she is now. So if you're watching this, if you're listening, please give Stasha a big warm welcome, and Stasha, just say hello.
Hello.
So Stash and I were just chatting about literally where she is right now, and there's been so much change that's happened in your life since you originally, since we spoke, right?
Mhm.
Which was 4 months ago. We were just looking at the date. It was 4 months ago. You are now in a new city, about to start a new job.
Mhm.
You get a month off of work between new jobs. You're going on a cruise with your husband. Like, there's just so much stuff. Your son's outside playing right now with your husband. Like, your life is very different right now, and will be very different going forward than it was 4 months ago. So I'd love for you to just start by telling everybody a little bit about both the work that you do,
Mhm.
um, and what it was that led you, kind of what pain were you in, what were you struggling with that led you to me and to the program um, 4 months ago.
Sure. So I am a veterinarian. Um, as Julie mentioned, I'm starting a new job, but what my role was medical director of the veterinary practice that I was at not too long ago. Friday was my last day there, and both in the profession of being a veterinarian and in the role that I think the role that I was in sort of exacerbated the stress and the anxiety and the depression and things like that I was feeling. But just, being a veterinarian in general, there is a lot of compassion fatigue, a lot of empathy that goes on, not only with the patients, the dogs and the cats and all the cute little furry things, but also with their owners, because everybody is attached to a leash or a carrier or a person. And my really my biggest struggle was almost over empathizing with people, and I would take on their emotions as my own. So I would feel my own emotions about a situation, and then I would feel the owner's emotions about the same situation. And, it would just sort of explode into this I don't really know how to handle all of this, emotional instability that I was really feeling. And it really led to very severe depression, very severe anxiety. And then the management role that I was in, I was also dealing with some HR issues and people management issues and things like that as well. And at that point, I had been in therapy for about a year and a half. I had, let's see, at that point, I had an 18-month-old son, and I was kind of far from family and didn't really have much of a immediate support system. Um, and I just kind of felt stuck. I felt trapped for sure, and didn't really know where to go from there. I knew that I wanted to run away and burn everything down and just do something totally different with my life. Um, and then I came across Julie's webinar, and kind of did that, and I signed up for the call. And just some of the things that you were telling me, about the hope that other women have had, after having gone through this program and how their lives have changed. And I think the biggest question that you asked me that I kind of sticks with me the most is, what is your ideal situation, that you see yourself in? And my ideal situation was that I could lie in the grass, staring up through the trees at the sky and watch the clouds go by with my husband and son. And I'm getting all teary eyed. Because, at the time, I not only did I feel like I didn't have the time for it, but I didn't have the emotional capacity for it, and I think that having allowed, I guess, all of this other emotion into my life didn't leave a lot of room for me to be with my family, be present with my family, and watch my son grow and enjoy the little things. And so that's kind of where I was and what brought me there. um, yeah, and yeah, I mean, ultimately, I decided to take the course for the benefit of both myself. I wanted to see who I am and who I want to be, so that ultimately could benefit my husband and my son and any future family.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about, we'll totally talk about that as well, like your husband, your son, the impact of that. But I just I want to reflect on so many beautiful things that you just shared that I know will resonate for a lot of successful, educated, professional women, right? But like, you have a big heart, you care and cared about the work that you do, you still do, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about what the transition for you looked like and how that whole thing incredibly unfolded as well. But what I hear is that when you came to us, and I remember, right, you were struggling with severe depression and anxiety. You were having panic attacks multiple times a week. You were having kind of unexplained heart palpitations and heart things, right? So, right, so all that was going on. I just want to check in. When was the last time that you had a panic attack?
3 months ago, 2.5, maybe 3 months ago. Yeah.
So like a month into the program was the last one, right? And all the unexplained heart stuff.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. Okay. So you came in with these physical symptoms, and we talk about that a lot, that it's the underlying stuff that leads to the physical symptoms. But you came in and you were like, my body's falling apart. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm having panic attacks. My husband's worried about me. My family's worried about me. I'm not present with my son, right? I'm not being the type of mom that I want to be. And not only that, I don't see a way out, right? So like, you didn't see a way out. Like, there was no way in your mind that you could have created more time or emotional capacity. You were really stuck in this place, and it was hopeless and it was scary. And I remember us talking on that call, and I was like, yeah, like, you've reached me, which is the last house on the block, right? You've gone to the doctors, you've done the therapy, like, you've done the achieving, you've got a good job and a good paycheck and lots of responsibility, and this is not the life that you want to live. And what stood out to me so much with what you just said, and we see this happen so often with the women in the program, right, which from having been, with your sisters in the program, is that what we usually want is actually pretty simple, right? And that question for you, when we really were like, all right, babe, like, if we fast forward your life 3 months at the end of this program, what do you want? Like, what is the win? What will show you that you're on the other side of this? And it was such a stretch for you to believe that you could be lying on the grass, looking up through the trees with your son, just peaceful and enjoying life, watching the clouds pass you by. And do you remember the moment in the program where you were like, oh my God, we did?
Yeah. It was sort of, it was kind of surreal, because it was like, it wasn't intentional to do it wasn't intentional to do the activity. It just happened. And I was like, wait, this is momentous.
And it was in your last few weeks of the program, right? It kind of just like all came together, and you were like, oh my God, that reason that I joined, that thing that I wanted just happened, and it wasn't manufactured. You just became the person that you needed to be in order to create that in your life, which meant you had to let go of a lot, right? So I just want to celebrate that. And I can only imagine, and I do want to talk just briefly about your relationship with your son now and your husband, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about where you are and then how you got there. Okay, so do you think over these past few months, because you know the type of mom you were before and what's happening with your son now, how has your mothering and your relationship with your son shifted?
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun. I had a routine for sure before, because I couldn't function without one. And stuff got done, but it was very robotic, get up, change clothes, put a pamper on, like, get myself ready, get him ready, go to daycare, go to work, all this kind of stuff. And now, everything's just a game. And sure, there's some kind of, there's some semblance of a routine that still has to be there. But everything's very much a game, and anything that we can try to make into a game, we will,
And that's And I'm assuming that he's just like on cloud nine with life feeling like a game now and not a chore.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's so giggly all the time. He's laughing all the time. Um, and yeah, he's just laughing all the time.
And do you feel more present with him, Stasha?
I
How is that?
do, yeah, absolutely, yeah, because well, I manufacture the games, so I my I guess it's not necessarily like a goal that I had, but you know, I want to hear him giggle and I want to hear him laugh and I want to hear him have fun, and him smiling makes me smile. So I try to find the things that will make that happen.
Yeah, I love you sharing that so much that like it's gone from like chore, like you go through the motions, like
Mhm.
you wake up. And I remember on our conversation, our first conversation that you had when you booked the breakthrough call, you were like, yeah, the first feeling that I have when I wake up is dread. You know,
Mhm.
like I have to get my son ready and I have to, get him dressed and then I have to like run out the door and then, and I remember that experience of like everything felt like you were just going through the motions. And we see that a lot, right? With the other women in the group that they feel like they're missing out on their lives.
Mhm.
And that's why that vision of like, I just want to be present in my life with my family and I want to feel love and sunshine and nature and cloud. Like that is just an example of what it feels like to be living in the present moment.
Mhm.
And that was not your reality before.
Not at all. It was very gray. It was very bleak.
Very gray, very bleak. And now you are able to be with, not only help create, but to truly be present for these moments where your son is giggling and
Mhm.
laughing and having fun, right? Which is, of course, the type of family that you want, the home life you want to
Yeah.
create for him. But you just weren't capable of it before because you were so stretched then, right?
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll talk about how you made that shift in just a second. I'm also curious about if you want to share anything about what you've noticed has shifted perhaps in your relationship, in your marriage. Is there anything that feels different for you about that?
Um, it does. We've been together a very long time. We've been together like 17 years, married for 8, so very, very long time. And, I've grown, he's grown, we've all changed, throughout that time. But especially, um, during and after the course and everything, I think I was not as afraid to talk about certain subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the tools at that point then to bring them up tactfully, and to actually have a conversation that was meaningful and had depth and wasn't cheesy and wasn't necessarily uncomfortable, or if it was, that I had the tools to work through that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of discover more of a truth about who we were together, as a couple, and who we were separately as individuals, so that we could respect each other more.
And that's really, really, really beautiful. So when you say like, oh, I have the tools now, like, so what was it like before? Like before you had the tools or even before you had the support and the ability to kind of bring up hard conversations, like what was it like before?
I mean, he would definitely, both of us would, we would procrastinate on difficult conversations,
Yeah.
until it got to the point of exploding, usually in an argument.
Yes.
And then, things were said that might have truth to them, but weren't meant to the extent that they were. Um, and I mean, same kind of thing as with my son. I mean, a lot of it was still kind of going through the motions, very robotic, very like we still felt like we loved each other, but it kind of slumped, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
at that point. And he had actually expressed to me several times over probably, well, since my son was born, really a little bit before that, that he was worried about me because he saw the toll and the extent of the toll that that the work was taking on me, because I wasn't able to handle it very well. And sometimes when he would tell me that the way he felt about how he felt about, the way that he was concerned about me, I actually became really defensive about it, Like my
Yeah.
stress was a badge of honor. And how dare you try to take that away from me? I'm working my butt off, and you can't even, I felt like you can't even, realize that or recognize it. But now, I mean, I understand that, it is coming from a place of love. And, he was trying to communicate that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's so, thank you for sharing even more about that,
Mhm.
because what I hear is that there was a theme happening in your most intimate relationships with your husband and with your son, where it was just like things were robotic and you were
Mhm.
going through the motions, and maybe you would push down your feelings and his and hard things,
Mhm.
and then it would explode. Right. And
Yeah.
that was the pattern, which of course isn't creating more intimacy or depth. And if that happens long enough, right, that's what leads to separation or divorce or,
Yeah.
whatever, lots of other things. Right.
Mhm.
And what I hear that's shifted for both the marriage, and this is an important thing for you to even recognize, that you did this work and it shifted for
Mhm.
everyone in your family,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That there is now more connection, more intimacy, tools that you have to meet hard things, and to stay with yourself and with the people that you love for those hard things, and there's more fun.
Mhm.
And I'm just noticing that you're getting a little teary.
Yeah, a little bit.
And just tell us, like, why does that bring up so much emotion for you? What part of what I said brought up emotion for you?
I mean, it's just I wanted to be where I'm at now so much and for so long, and to just compare that to where I was. I mean, I hurt for myself for where I was. So I want to give her a big hug.
Yeah. Well, let's send her a wave of love. We
Yes.
could send that old you, a big
Yeah.
wave of love. And also we can send her that an incredible thank you, right?
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
doing what you needed to do to get here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you were ready, right? You were ready when you were so ready. You just hadn't found the solution really yet.
Mhm.
So what I want to know is, I want to know how you knew that this was the right solution for you, the right step. And then I
Mhm.
also want to start talking a little bit about maybe what you want to share with some of the other women who are where you are now,
Mhm.
who are where you were. Um, um, Maybe some tools that you would want to share with them that you've learned or what got you here. So let me ask you. So, okay, wait. There's one thing that we haven't talked about yet. So
Okay.
we've talked about your relationships. We talked about your husband. We talked about your son. We've talked about the physical symptoms that have virtually disappeared. Many of them, right? Most of them, the big
Yeah.
ones. Um, and we also talked about, we mentioned that you moved cities and you're changing jobs.
Yeah.
So you were at a transition point right now, and you didn't think you wanted to necessarily leave your job, even though you secretly wanted to burn it all down and run away, but you didn't really leave the job. So could you just give us like a little brief, like tell us what's next? Like, and
Yeah.
then kind of if you want to tell us how that very incredibly unfolded during the program, if you want to share anything about that too, and then we'll talk a little bit about um, guidance that you want to share with other people. So tell us like what's next for your job piece and how did that unfold?
Okay. So I'm still a veterinarian, and I will still be practicing as a veterinarian. Um, I took a position that I'm basically doing what's called relief work. So it's per diem or locum work, kind of like substitute teaching, only substitute veterinarianing. And so I will be splitting my time between two different clinics of the same company I was actually working at before. Um, so that they were able to keep me within the company. And I really did enjoy working for that company. Do enjoy working for that company. So I will still be, practicing, hopefully doing the things that I still and did enjoy about my job, and less of the things that were causing me a lot of, stress and anxiety. Um, I'm not going to be doing any management of other people, and or of a clinic itself. And I think that was important for me to take kind of a big emotional step back from the business aspect of it. As much as I really enjoyed learning and doing it, I needed to focus more on me. And that's kind of why I decided to do the relief work instead. So we'll do that for a little bit and see how it goes. And then I also, actually, it kind of coincided with almost the time that I leveled up. I was also doing a financial coaching. I was teaching a financial coaching course for some of the staff members at my old job as well. And that ended also right when I ended my position there. So I was able to do some teaching, which I really, really loved, and kind of tied that financial aspect in there too, which is part of the things that I like to teach. And I think I'm going to continue that as well here. So,
Yay! So it's like, so what I just want to celebrate here is you have opened a doorway into really the best of both worlds for you.
mm-hmm.
You get to stay as a veterinarian. You get to do this work that is so passionate in your heart that you love so much.
Mm-hmm.
But you got really clear, and this happened in the program. You got really clear on what are the things you love to do and what are the things you don't love to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how to set boundaries, right? And how to set energetic boundaries and physical boundaries and verbal boundaries, and then what do I actually want? Like, you got really clear on that. And when you got really clear on that, I want everybody to really know this. You didn't go out and seek this position,
No.
right? It wasn't like, I'm going to apply because it literally fell into your lap, right?
Yeah.
And so I want everybody to really understand what Stasha's saying here. It's like, she didn't like figure all this out with her brain. She focused on this journey, right? We got her really clear on what she wanted, on what her skill sets were, on what she loved, on what she didn't love, right? We helped heal that part of her that wore her stress like a badge of honor, right? We took that away, right? We reframed your relationship on stress and hard work, right? We looked at really where that came from. And then once that was gone, you could actually choose the life you wanted, which was actually a less stressful life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Many women don't realize that they are addicted to stress and hard work, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said a second ago, like your husband didn't understand, like you wore your hard work like a badge of honor. It was part of your identity. So I'm wondering, will you just speak a little bit to that, about what you learned in the program, about what you know now about that, about how in some ways we attach to work and working hard and all of that. Like, what did you realize for yourself during the program that helped you detach your worth from your work?
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of aspects to kind of touch on there. Kind of to start out with, I mean, definitely for me, like the Power Pitfalls module was one of the really, really important ones for me, because it definitely defined almost everything about my badge of honor. I worked because I was impressing people, right, who didn't really care, really, but I cared. That they might care at some point. Definitely an overfunctioner, a people pleaser. And I still find myself at times, kind of falling back into those practices, but I recognize them now. And then, another big part of kind of wearing that badge of honor is, and I discovered this in one of my tapping sessions with Greg, is one of my very core beliefs is that I will disappoint someone. And it can be anyone, but at the time that we were speaking about it, it was my dad. And, I was able to finally let that belief go. And it actually was in a very nice conversation with my dad, where of course he's not disappointed with me, right? He's quite proud of me, actually. But I had made all these decisions about my life and about my career based on the fact that I felt like I would disappoint him. And I continued to strive to achieve to the point of, harming my mental self, to continue to do that, to make him proud, even though I didn't necessarily, now that I know, I didn't necessarily have to. And that's really a lot of what it was, it was trying to, dissuade this belief that I had in myself and in others. And now different parts of that thing are identified and are defined. And, you know, I kind of let that belief go and was able to let some of those power pitfalls go and not have to care too much about what other people think and just do what's best for me and my family.
That's huge.
It is
And
huge.
Because most high achieving, successful professional women aren't necessarily achieving, right? Because it's this organic drive. Now, sometimes it can turn into be, right? We're not talking about you quitting your job, right? That isn't what you wanted. You didn't want to walk away from everything, right? But you also developed this, you knew that was pretty, so you were able to bring that in, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But what I want to reflect for you, and I want to make sure that everyone hears what you just said, is that you got to a point where you were finally able to make the right decisions for you and your family, versus the way it used to be, which is achieve, strive, work ahead of all things, even if it didn't make you or your family happy, even if it wasn't your priority, right? And which is so big because we see that a lot, right? Like, I remember asking you this question. We often ask our women this question. We have exercises on it in the course around what's your pie, you know, like the percentage of time, if you look at your life, your waking hours, what percentage of that pie is made up with work? And do you remember what your answer was at the time?
No, it was a very high percentage. I mean, I'm thinking like 90 something percent. So.
Yeah, you were like 90, maybe 95. I remember that so clearly. And that's usually the case for most of our women. 85, 90% of their waking life is about work. But if we were to look at what they really care about, we were to do another chart of what they really care about, work is not 85 to 90% of their values, right? But there's a reason, and this is so important, and it's different for every single woman. There is a reason that high achieving, successful, ambitious women achieve and do it in sacrificing sometimes their health or their relationships. And it's not because they really, really care about their jobs. They may think that's what it's about. But what it's about is it's about these underlying core patterns and pitfalls that we teach about and talk about in the course that have led you to strive and achieve. And so there was this core belief that, well, if I'm not doing this, I may let someone down. And for another woman, it may be like, well, there's a part of me that doesn't feel good enough, right? I mean, we see that a lot. Like, there's a part of me that doesn't feel good enough. But if I keep achieving and getting those gold stars, right, and accomplishing, and if I've got that money in the bank or that next promotion, then I feel good about myself, right? And it's almost a way that we keep those feelings of self-worth, right? And insecurity and all the imposter stuff we all feel. Achieving can be a way we cover that, so we never have to sit with that discomfort, right? And if that's the reason we're achieving, there's never enough work, which is why you were working and overgiving and had compassion fatigue, and we're putting your family and your health at the bottom of your list. But when we heal that core belief, right? That core belief is like, I need to work in order to get love, right? Or I need to do this in order to be accepted. When we healed that, then the path just cleared, and it's like, actually, this isn't the right job for you. Here, you want this one with less hours and maybe a new place and less responsibility for other people, which you don't really want right now anyways. And the path clears because you got really clear on what you wanted, and you started making decisions based on what's truly best for what you want in your life with your family, right? Which is why when we work with women, some women end up walking away from their jobs, right? Many of them get new jobs like you have. Some women stay in their jobs, but they just change their relationship with it because it's not ever about the job. It's about your interaction and relationship with it, right?
Yeah.
I love what you shared so much. And I think you really just captured so you wasn't always easy during the program, right?
No, it was
I think we're
quite
back.
difficult.
I think for a sec. Yes. Yeah. So what I would love, so if you were to speak to the people who right now are feeling like you're feeling, right? Or were feeling, and they were really scared to look at things, right? Or do anything, what would you want to say to them?
I mean, I was terrified for sure. I mean, not only to delve into the mental and emotional side of things, because it was a very deep well that I did have to explore. And it was scary and it was incredibly painful, very, very challenging. Um, I mean, you kind of have to hit bottom before I had to hit bottom before I could build myself back up, right? And I think there was one call where we were talking about um, I think like it was a castle or something, right? And we had to take down the castle stone by stone so that we could rebuild the boat, so it was a totally different mode of transportation or something like that. And that was me, like to a T. I mean, everything I had to kind of slowly peel back the layers so that I could reveal what was beneath and then build back upon that of who I was and am, and then who I wanted to be and be for myself, be for my family, be for the world. I think, it is very, very raw. And I committed myself to, this, I'm going to jump in with feet first and be 100% in this program and be very open-minded. I'm very analytically driven and I'm very scientific. And some things were a little woo-woo, but, at the same time, those were also the things that helped me the most. Tapping helped me significantly come to that core or discover that core belief. And I mean, the aromatherapy and the essential oils and things like that, those help me. And maybe it's because I want them to, and that's great. I don't really care why they help really at this point. They just do. And it's even helped. I mean, I am continuing therapy and the things that I learned in the program, a lot of the tools that I learned in the program have helped me talk about more significant things to continue to explore and build from and things like that in therapy. And I mean, I would say, it's scary, but as Julie says over and over again, really trust the process, trust the women that have come before you and been through it and broken down from it and built back up from it. Because, I mean, you get what you put into it. You have to put the work in and you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in the process. But you got that.
Sasha, so beautiful. And I don't know if you noticed that you really broke down, I'm going to say 3 steps that so much capture the work that we do together. Okay. You said, first, I had to peel back the layers of who I'm not, right? So that's the first step. So for all of you, whether you ever do this work with me or not, I want you to listen to the wisdom that Stasha just shared, because these are the 3 steps that you have to take in order to really heal the root cause of burnout and all of the symptoms that are spinning from that, right? So the first step is you have to peel back the layers of who you're not, because that's what happens over time. We put on that layer of the people pleaser, the perfectionist, the overfunctioner, the strong one, all of it, right? And we're pretending to be versions of ourselves that we're actually not. They're just learned. So the first thing that everyone must do, this is so beautiful, Stasha, is peel back the layers of who they're not, right? That's the first step. And then you said, number 2, to get to who I am, right? Number 2, like underneath all those layers, like you're there. And we talk about this so much in the program, and we do a lot of work to help you remember who you were before those layers got covered on top. But that's the second step, to remember who you are underneath that, right? She's still in there, even if it's been years or decades since you felt her, even if you've never even felt her, like there's a part of you that knows, right? So that's the second step, to get to the core of who you are, that unchangeable part, right? And I remember for you, Stasha, we really realized that for you, fun was one of your core things, right? It's not true for everyone. Somebody else is maybe spiritual, somebody else is maybe comical. Like yours was fun, it was like you got to have fun in everything. That's who you are. But you forgot that at a really early age and started being very serious. So we had to peel back the serious piece and help you feel safe enough so that you could give that fun permission part of you to come out. That was the second step, to get to who you are. And then the third step you said was so that I could rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
so that I could rebuild the life that I want from the place of who you authentically are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not from the place of who you were pretending to be or thought you needed to be. And that's what the stripping away process is in some ways. And the metaphor that I gave and I give in the course that I'll share here with everyone is you built a castle, right? And you thought you wanted a castle. And you've been living in this castle and it's been beautiful, but it's not actually what you want. And then, so one day you get the courage to leave the castle and be like, that's not what I want. I want a boat instead. I want to live on a boat. That's what I really want. And so you have to take down the bricks of the castle that you built, right? Or the wood, whatever it is, to rebuild the boat, right? You got to use the materials, right? For the thing that you really want. And that's the third step, right? So that you can rebuild according to who you really are and the life that you want and the life that your soul came here to live and the life that the gifts that you're here to give to the world, right? And so Stasha, for you, right, we really determined that, like, yes, right, veterinary animals, like, this is a key piece, but so is finance, right?
Yeah.
And so you, like, is this part of you, like, who knows one day if maybe that becomes the thing, right, of teaching other women and all of it. So, but that is the more authentic expression, right, than the life that you are living. And so everybody who's listening, I just really want you to, those are the 3 steps. And I just love that you outlined them so beautifully. And the last thing that I'll say is, like, you showed up so fully. You did dive into the deep end.
Yeah, it was
Both
hard.
feet. You're like, I'm doing it. And you know what? Because of that commitment, and we only work with women who are willing to be 100% committed like that. Because of that, because you showed up on every single call, did every single assignment, you made this 12-week journey the most important thing in your life, and it saved your life. It gave you your life back, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I really want to celebrate in you.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that, I mean, it saved my life quite literally. I mean, between the anxiety and depression, I was quite suicidal as well. And you know, for those of you who don't know the statistics, 1 in 4 veterinarians have thoughts of suicide. It's extremely prevalent, and you know, we have the access to medications to make it happen quite easily. So you know, it was really scary for me at the time. Scary for me because not only for me, but scary for me because I have a family. You know, not only like an immediate family like my husband and my son, but also my family like my in-laws and my parents and siblings and all that kind of stuff. And so you know, that was also a big part of it. And I had to accept that it was okay to talk about it. That was a big thing, and kind of share my experience with that kind of mental health issue. And interestingly, the more that I shared, the more that I found other people shared the same kind of thoughts. And so, you know, I think it's a lot more prevalent than is voiced. And I think that really, you know, sharing, and like you said, I jumped in like feet first and no life vest or anything. Because, you know, I needed that support, and I found that support. I mean, it was definitely there from, I mean, of course, not only you, Julie, but from everybody who was in the program, who's been through the program, who's going through the program now. I mean, that support is just constant. And that would be the other thing I would say, you know, about anybody who's got fears of, you know, where you're at now and what the journey might be, is that the support is there, whether or not you know it, you know, and you just have to voice it. That would be the other thing to say. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing both of those things, both your personal journey with this literally saving your life in many ways, and also your willingness to be vulnerable, not just in the group originally, but here now too, knowing that the more we talk about the things that sometimes we feel shameful of or our society shames us for, the more we talk about them, the more we normalize them. And so, and you spoke to this a little bit about the power of the group, but if you could, if there's anything else you want to say about this, what would you say about why doing this program and a group of other women, why was that so important to your healing and to your journey? So like if
Yeah.
anybody would be worried about like, oh, it's a group of other women and I'm not sure, right? Because we all have our own stuff. We think we're the
Sure.
only ones struggling with the thing and we don't want to share. And yeah, so what would you want to say anything to the women about that?
I think I learned more from the other women, especially in our group calls, than necessarily any one thing in the program. I mean, all of it together, of course, is like a vast amount of pool of information and tools. But really, it's the experiences that the other women were going through that I was like, hey, I could relate to that, and this is what she's doing about it, and how can I help support her, and how can I support myself in the same way? Or, hey, this person brought this up. Maybe that's okay to bring up, and everything is okay to bring up, by the way. Oh, I have this thing that, nobody ever talks about, but somebody just talked about, oh my gosh, like it's okay. The world didn't end, and look at all this support this person got too, um, and then even when the other women were being supported, um, I also felt supported at the same time, even if it weren't my original coaching. I felt supported in that same sense because a lot of it is very similar advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love that you said, and this is a retraining that happens, right? You are being retrained in this program, right? Not only with the coaching support that you get and the help desk support that you get and the biweekly coaching calls, and it's not just that. What's happening in that is that you're actually learning and retraining yourself that you don't have to do things on your own anymore, that you can be supported. And most of the women who come to us, and you were like this at the beginning too, have been doing literally everything on their own. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that like, wait, there's other people who can support me, who I can trust to hold me, right? And yeah, I think we got frozen for a second.
Yeah, a little bit. There you go. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, honey. Yeah, there we go. Now we're back. So I just want to thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability. For all of you who are watching this, you may resonate with 100% of stuff, the story, or 75% of it, or one thing that STASHA said, right? But one of the things that I say in our group calls that I'll say now is always listen. Like, what's the nugget? Why am I watching this? Why did I listen? What part of me needed to hear that one thing? And if there's any part of you right now who feels like, oh, maybe this will help me too. Maybe there's a chance that this is the program, and this is the community, that these are the new teachings and tools I need. If there's any part of you that's like, maybe, then I want you to book a call with us. You go to juliesantiago.com/talk. And what that's going to do is pop up our calendar. We'll have some times in the next week or so available, and then you'll answer a few questions, and then we'll get on a call for about an hour, and we'll really look at your life. And STASHA knows this, right? Because we only make an offer to about 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4 people that we talk to on the phone, because if we don't think we can help you, we're going to tell you that. We're going to point you in different directions. But if we do feel like you can experience the same change, a fraction of the change that STASHA experienced, we're going to invite you into doing this work with us, right? And it may be right for you and it may not, but ultimately what these calls are all about is to help you get really clear on where are you stuck, right? What do you need to do about it? And then we'll make a plan if we can help you get there. And if we can't, then we'll give you other resources. So you'll get tremendous value no matter what. And I mean that. Don't hesitate to do it, right? This really could be the moment that you're like, I'm like STASHA. If STASHA hadn't applied 4 months ago, 4 months and 4 days ago, right? Like, who knows where your life would be now. So this can be the first moment where you choose to draw a line in the sand and take a different action to live a different life. So it's juliesantiago.com/talk. And STASHA, I want to pass it back to you one more time before we complete. I'll post all of that in the comments below too. And Sasha, if there's just one thing, if you were just to say, okay, if you were, let's say, talking to that version of you 4 months ago, or somebody who is in that position right now, is there one thing you would want them to know, one action you would want them to take, just one thing you would want them to know, um, to help them get from where they are to where you are now?
Mm-hmm. One thing. That's hard. Um,
It can be more than that, but you know.
yeah. I mean, I think definitely like if you're at the beginning of this journey, if you're trying to decide how to help yourself, um, and you think that maybe there is that one little nugget that you found, during this call, um, just try. I mean, the worst that can happen is that it didn't work and you're still in the same spot that you're in, and if it does work and you have any level of transformation or change, it could be tremendous for you. It could be life-saving for you. The other thing that I would say is like, there was a call and a moment in the program for me where I was kind of resistant a little bit to some of the things that I was feeling and learning about myself and things like that. And one of the things that Julie told me on that coaching call was, at the moment I was in fight or flight mode. I was either going to fight the job I was in or I was going to run away from it. And and what you told me is, in order to make like a sound decision going forward about what is truly best for you and your family, you must accept things the way they are now. And they may not be right now, but you still have to accept them the way they are. And that was really powerful for me. I had to accept myself the way that I was, and stop trying to fight myself or run away from myself. Same thing about the job, same thing about my family. And ultimately I just, in order to figure out what it is I wanted, I first had to accept things the way they were to figure out what it is I don't want.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Stasha.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both so incredible. I'm going to recap so everybody can hear them again and that you can hear your wisdom reflected back to you. The number one, just try something different. If you feel like you don't know what to do something different, right? So whether that's booking this free breakthrough call, right? Take an action. Like worst comes to worst, like you spend an hour of your time and you're no better, you're no worse off, right? Or take a risk and join the program if that feels right for you, right? Like do something different is what you're saying. Try something new, right? Just try it. You've got nothing to lose. That's number one. Best case scenario, your life totally transformed. Worst case scenario, you go back to the way that things were before, right? And then the second thing that you said, and this is so tremendous and beautiful, is that when we're in that place of fighting or flighting, when we feel like we should burn it all down, right? Or opt out or run away or whatever it is, the only way we can know what to do is by first accepting where we are. And so when we're in that resistance of pushing against the thing we don't want, whether that's the job or the relationship or qualities in ourselves or whatever it is, the only way to shift it isn't to keep resisting it, right? It's to accept it, right? To let it come closer, to accept it. And only when we accept that thing that we're fighting against or trying to run from, only when we can accept it as it is right now, can we actually then make space for the changes that want to come, right? Which is so beautiful, right? Resistance just means that something wants to shift, right? Mm-hmm. But if we resist it, we will just get more of it, and accepting it allows it to shift. Well, you did that, sweetheart, so beautifully. You accepted it even in the midst of the resistance, and then life flooded towards you. And I know that you now have a month off, which is more than that, 6 weeks off, right?
Yeah,
6 weeks.
like crazy. What am I going to do with all my time?
Well, you're going to go on a cruise with your husband and leave your son behind for a little while.
I am, yes. He's going to stay with grandma and grandpa for a week.
Yep. And it's so beautiful because like that, these are the dreams that you had right?
Mhm.
That were impossible 4 months ago. And I just want to honor the fact that you took the risk and you dove into the deep end with your head first, and you showed up for yourself, because I know this is going to create ripples in your whole life already with your son and your husband and any future children that come. And I just thank you so much for sharing so beautifully and so vulnerably with us today. Thank you so much, Stasha.
You're very, very welcome. Thanks for having me.
So for all of you, if you're called to book a call, go to juliesantiago.com/talk. We'll get on the phone. I'll see if I can support you. If not, I'll share other resources with you. And we're here to help you in any way that we can. So Stasha, again, thank you. Thank you all for listening and watching, and sending you much, much love. Bye-bye for now.